So poops, the most common thing we hear when we hear people talking about Palestine is go and educate yourself. And with that in mind, I've been watching a lot of these kinds of videos over the past week, one after another, and I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for educating me about Palestine, but no thank you. So poops, I know a lot of people care about Palestine, but it seems like even more want to make sure that you believe what they believe. And the moment you disagree with them, they will tell you to go and get educated. Just like the toilet water sister. But yeah, whenever I see one of these people, my default response is not, "Oh, I see, thank you for your great teachings." Nope, my response is, "Alright, okay, thanks, bye." Now, I'm not saying that I'm pro one side, anti the other, or even that I know everything that there is to know about the conflict, but I've been following the thing for years upon years. I can tell you about the McMahon-Hussein correspondence, the Balfour Declaration, the UN Partition Plan, back into Herzl's vision, Zionism, pogrom, people of the land or colonialists. But it's not just me as well. I'm sure a lot of you out there, you have read a lot about this topic, you know way more than me, but you've probably run into the same problem over and over again. No matter how much you know, no matter how much you've read, the moment you don't agree with some of these people, they will go, "Silence is complicity, neutrality is siding with the enemy," or something like that. Granted, not all of them are bad, and also granted, straight shooting Baba here made some pretty good points. But the common problem remains. If you don't agree with them, then they assume that you are dumb, you are not educated. You need to listen to explanation after explanation that they will never get tired of giving because free Palestine. Educate yourself. Basically, they think that you are stupid, and I think the reason that you don't agree with them is that you don't have enough education. If only you read a little bit more, then you would realize that history didn't start on October the 7th. This is why we need solidarity. This is why we need education to bring awareness to the younger generation. Educate yourself. Educate yourself about the Nakba. Towards which I might then say, how much did you educate yourself about everything that happened in the thousands of years before that? Do you actually know what happened? Or are you too busy going out there and talking about the United Nations while failing to realize that the whole reason that the Nakba happened in the first place is because some of the besties that you love so much went and attacked Israel, violating the agreement by the United Nations that you love so much.
I guess you would read the official UN page, but then maybe you might want to ask yourself why it was created only in July 2023 and also why it is biased.
But of course, a lot of these people won't know about any of that. All they'll know is about the whole anti-colonial woke "are you a Zionist" tactic which they've been using all this while to guilt trip and assume that they are magically better than us. But that's why I don't take these people seriously, and that's why I wrote this petition against Khaliza Helmi,
which has supporters from all races and religions, and by the way has grown to over 100 signatures. Thank you so much. Link in the description.
Because I don't have faith in the ability of these people to actually educate anyone really. I mean sure, nobody wants women and children dying anywhere in the world. I don't think that's acceptable by any standard or measure. But that is not a reason to say that you absolutely need to politically support one side of the conflict or another side of the conflict. There's a whole multi-thousand year history of how these people have been fighting with one another across time. You can and should have more nuance along the way. You know, if you actually were to study the conflict, like really study the conflict, there's no guarantee that just because you know more, you'll end up on either Israel or Palestine's side. Which is why whenever I hear about people saying that, oh, we need to educate people, we need to teach them about the humanitarian concern the way Khaliza wants, then my first thought is propaganda all the way, baby. Cause if you're just throwing out a narrative, you're expecting people to memorize facts, to think like you, to repeat your talking points, and hope that they'll all end up making the same choice as you. That is not education, that is indoctrination. And that's why I created that petition, because I am very much completely against people using education as a place where they try to politicize what is correct in the world, assume that they are correct, manipulate children into serving their political goals who haven't even come to experience experience or understand the world in any meaningful way. Make them gaslight one another and maintain this idea of reality that is kept up all on the basis of a political narrative. I'm not saying whether it's true or false, but I am saying that that's not the point of education, which is to cause people to think. To all of you influencers out there, thank you for educating me about Palestine, but no need to educate me about Palestine because I'm a big boy now and I can make my own decisions. I'm sure that there are a lot of people out there who don't necessarily know about the nitty-gritty of the conflict. Aw, I'm just trying to look for a good life, why do we need to get involved? Okay, sure, but there are many more of us who have already made our decisions and already know what we want, what we care about, and what we don't need to care about. And at some point, you are gonna need to respect that. I said this before, but I know that a lot of y'all out there really care about Palestine. That's entirely your right, but you need to learn to accept rejection. You cannot force people into it. And you need to learn to stop calling your opponents monsters, inhumans, Zionists, or anything else just because they don't go out there and ikut. Have you ever really thought about this issue that you say that you're an expert on, so aware about? Have you actually looked beyond yourself? If you ever looked at yourself in the mirror and thought about the monster that you are becoming? Or are you maybe just too caught up in trying to avoid being punished by the people around you the moment you try to go off a little bit because you fear somewhere inside you that people will start screaming Tali Baru, Barua Bangsa, Pengkhianat, or any number of other things out there just because you have a different opinion? For what it's worth, I do think that there is something that's worth educating people about, and that is to live and let live. People have different opinions from you, that's fine. It doesn't mean that they are monsters, it doesn't mean that you should be casting them away, and in fact, if you are casting people away just because they have a different opinion from you in a conflict that is more than 8,000 kilometers away, I think that there is something wrong with your mind, or you are making excuses, you didn't like other races in the first place, and now you want to project your failure onto other people. At the end of the day, these people are your countrymen whether you like them or not, however little exposure you've had to them, and I suggest that at the end of the day, you get to know them and to respect them, rather than screaming at the top of your voice that you must be right all the time. Be like Singapore, try to respect everybody even though you are the majority.
And no disagreement doesn't automatically become disrespect.
And don't try to chase out people just because they don't agree with you, only to beg for them to come back just a short while later. Because we have history about how that's always gone, and if you don't know about that, educate yourself. But what do you think, Sapoops? Do you think that you need to be educated by the people around you on Palestine? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. That's all to say about that, and bye.